Okay, check this out, guys. All right, so this is something I wanted to cover. This is Fox News on YouTube. It says Europe outraged after Trump takes action over Greenland resistance. I want to see what they're talking about. I don't know. Are they what? This is 3 hours ago, so this must be something new because we already know that Trump has threatened tariffs on the countries that are there that are trying to resist him and say all that crap. I know that there's a protest going on in Greenland, and we know that apparently something happened with the U.S. consulate. I don't really know, but they were outside the U.S. consulate protesting. So now Fox News is reporting that Trump is taking action over the Greenland resistance, and Europe is apparently outraged by it. So let's find out why.
This weekend, after President Trump announced new tariffs on 8 NATO allies opposing his plans to acquire the territory, that move sparking bipartisan reaction.
Greenland and the Danes have been our allies for a long time now. The president is the consummate deal maker, and I think he's looking for a deal.
Denmark.
They have been our allies, and you know what? There's no reason they need to own this part of the thing, especially with all the shit that we do for them.
Greenland, the Kingdom of Denmark, that's our ally. It's our friend. So I'm puzzled by the president's threat of tariffs.
For more, let's bring in National Economic Council Director Kevin Hassett. Thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, this is the EU being upset that Trump is saying he's going to put tariffs on. Well, hey, listen, guy. I mean, we're the power of NATO, right? Like, what are you going to do? And also, why doesn't us having Greenland help you guys out also? Like, I don't understand what the problem there is.
Sir,
these people really think that borders just can't ever change anymore. Like, why?
Great to see you this morning. I want to start here. You know, the president's tariff threat to these 8 NATO allies does appear to be potentially upending one of his signature achievements, the landmark trade deal with the EU that he struck in July. Listen here.
This is probably the biggest deal ever reached in any capacity, trade or beyond trade. I think it's the biggest deal ever made.
We have a deal. We have a trade deal between the 2 largest economies in the world. And it's a big deal. It's a huge deal.
This Friday,
you have 90 minutes to prove your innocence, or you will be executed.
only one movie will have you on the edge of your seat until the very last twist.
Oh my God. What did you expect to happen?
Mercy, rated PG-13, filmed for IMAX in theaters Friday.
All right.
So this deal has been partially implemented, but it still hasn't cleared the European Parliament. Several members now are calling for 0% tariffs on U.S. products to be put on hold. And that deal also included $750 billion in energy purchases from the U.S., a $600 billion investment in the U.S., military purchases. Is all of that scrapped now that the president appears to be putting an overarching tariff over the deal that he made?
Right. Well, first of all, I want to say that throughout the negotiations with the Europeans last year, you would have heard them say, oh, if we have a tariff, if we do what President Trump says, it'll be terrible for our economies, you'll tank our economies. And if you go back and look that as we've negotiated these great deals both for the U.S. and for Europe, then their economies have boomed, their stock markets have boomed. It's been amongst the better years ever for them because basically they see that the U.S. right now is once again the shining city on the hill, that we're the engine of global growth, and President Trump has accomplished that really in just 1 year. So I think right now with respect to Greenland, the president...
We need to step back and really thank President Trump for saving the U.S. economy because we were going to implode on ourselves. We were a consumer economy, and we didn't make shit. We outsourced everything, and that is a very big problem, particularly in terms of independence, you know?
Has a strong view that it's...
I've always been of the mind that you should be able to provide for yourself anything that you might want. Provide for yourself what others won't.
National security matter for the U.S. to have more control over Greenland, and I'm confident that in the end he's going to negotiate a deal that's great for us and great for our partners.
So do these tariffs stack on top of the existing tariffs? And moreover, is he using IEEPA for that? Because the Supreme Court could make a ruling on that and potentially strike it down as early as this week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've not been briefed on the legalities of the Greenland tariffs yet. That'll happen for me tomorrow morning. Sorry.
Okay. The president obviously often escalates to de-escalate when he is.
Look, I think it should be totally legal. If the president of the United States cannot choose what to do with the economy, I don't know what the fuck we're doing.
Is deal making, but Europe is pretty outraged over this. These 8 states deployed their militaries as a symbolic defense against a NATO ally. The French president seemed to compare the U.S. to Russia even, saying, quote, no intimidation nor threat will influence us, neither in Ukraine nor in Greenland. A member...
This is the same dude that gets punched by his husband wife all the fucking time, you know? Same dude that gets cucked by his husband wife all the time. I bet she's bigger than you are too, buddy. Just saying.
A Danish member of the European Parliament called this economic warfare and called to sanction, quote, Trump's oligarchs. If the EU sanctions American firms like banks or tech firms, Microsoft, Google, X, what kind of an impact could that have on the U.S. economy?
The one thing I've learned, Jackie, is that when you are engaged in negotiation with any country and with President Trump, that you'll see both sides take...
Yeah, you know what? Can we talk about this? Trump does not give an inch, right? Like, okay, so he'll go into negotiations, and you're not going to know fucking anything about those negotiations until they are done, all right? The OPSEC in the Trump administration is fucking phenomenal, man.
Very strong, extreme positions. But in the end, the president is the person who wrote the art of the deal because he's so good at deal making. And so I think right now it's really a good time for cooler heads to prevail and for us to disregard the rhetoric and get to the table and see if there can't be a deal that's worked out that's best for everybody.
Okay. This week, the president appeared to take you out of the running for Fed chair. Here's what he said.
I see Kevin's in the audience, and I just want to thank you. You were fantastic on television today. I actually want to keep you where you are, if you want to know the truth. Kevin Hassett is so good. We don't want to lose him, Susie.
Typical government problems, right? You're never going to get promoted, especially if you're really good at your job, because they're just not going to want you to do anything other than that, right? Like, little known fact, if you want to change careers and you're working in the government, just be terrible at the thing that you're doing.
Are you still in the mix for Fed chair?
First, I got to say, it was like really, I was so humbled.
Well, I mean, apparently not. Trump just said no. He's like, listen, I'd like to keep you where you are because you're doing great, you know?
And gratified by what the president had to say about me. He is such a good guy and so gracious towards his staff. From the beginning, he and I have talked about whether it's better for me to be here in the West Wing or over at the Fed. I don't think he's made a final call on that. But I got to say that I'm even humbled still, perhaps, to be in the running with the other people like Rick Reeder, who is the person that manages like $3 trillion in debt. He's one of the biggest bond market guys in the world. Kevin Warsh, who's been at the Fed before. Chris Waller, who's at the Fed now. There are a lot of great candidates, and it could well be that the president's right to make the decision that this is the best place for me right now. We've got so much to do in this.
I mean, yeah, listen, like if you're good at what you're doing, I have no idea what it is that you're doing, but if you're good at it, then yeah, why not keep doing it?
White House. And
whatever you got to do to contribute, you know.
I would add that you saw how much we accomplished last year. Everybody talks about how it's a historic year of record accomplishment, and that can't happen if you don't have a blockbuster White House staff. And I'm not talking about me and Susie. I'm talking about people like Robin Colwell and Paige Willey and Kate.
Dude, look at this guy's face. He is just happy to be here, man. Like he is just good, happy to be a part of this.
Kling-Peel, the people at the National Economic Council that come in every day and make sure that the trains are running on time. And so I'm very grateful that we built a great team that could accomplish so many great things last year. And if I stay here, I promise you we'll do that again for this year as well.
One more question on Fed chair, because I do want to get to Davos. But the a couple of Senate Republicans said this week that they would not confirm any nominee until the investigation into Jerome Powell is over. Tom Tillis said, quote, I wouldn't consider my mother for the post under the current conditions because we've got to resolve this matter. Does this probe make it hard for any successor to Powell that the president chooses, especially someone who's got a close relationship with him, to be seen as independent? And should Pirro pull the probe?
Nah, he just wants to remain in control because, listen, he's probably... Everyone says that the U.S. president has the most power in the world, and they might be right about that in terms of military, but... the chairman of the Federal Reserve for the United States is a very important guy, you know, like, dude.
What I have
the central of the central banking system, you know what I mean? Like, dude,
great respect for the senators who voiced their opinions about this. I think
it's like Westeros, and then dude over here is like the Iron Bank of Davos. You know what I mean? Like, if Trump wants to do anything, he's got to get the money from this guy. And if this guy's not playing ball, then Trump's not gonna want to get money from him. And then it's just like a whole thing, you know. So yeah, if he has the power to put somebody in there that's going to help him play ball, then I'm all for it. And you might call that hypocritical, but we really, really need to fix this country before we fucking implode on ourselves. And if that means letting the U.S. president do what he is legally allowed to do, then so be it.
Bottom line is, more than anything, that it puts pressure on the Justice Department to sew this up pretty quickly so that we can see. I know that there's been some frustration about transparency of the cost overruns, and let's hope that all that gets cleared up quickly.
Okay. Now, you are about to head to Davos with the president. He is leading the largest U.S. delegation to the World Economic Forum in history. You teased an announcement Friday that would allow Americans to tap their 401k for down payments while putting equity from that house into their 401k as an asset so that they're not sort of behind on their retirement planning. Tell us about this plan. How soon could we see that happen, and what...
Listen, having equity in your house is a retirement plan, you know?
Other announcements might come out in Davos.
Well, that was a sketch of one of the 4 or 5 ideas about how to let people have access to their 401ks. And so the president hasn't made a final decision, but he's absolutely confident that one of the reasons why the homeownership is so down, especially for people in the sort of 30 to 40 range, is that the down payment for the typical home has gone from about $17,000 to $35,000 because of Joe Biden's inflation. And so...
You know what? Ultimately, I do think people should be allowed to get into their 401ks for down payments on real estate. I think that would be a good idea, because I know a lot of people that probably have quite a bit of money tied up in the 401k, and if they could purchase a house, then it's not like it's hurting their retirement plan, because they can buy a house with it, and then they can have the house as part of the retirement plan as well, because it's unlike your 401k, where it's going to lose value over time unless the company keeps matching it and you keep putting more money into it. Your house will actually increase in value, not depreciate over time. So I really do think that giving people more options to access their own money would be beneficial.
People who do have, especially if they've got an employer who's been matching.
Now, this is probably going to piss off the employers who are using that money to invest in the stock market for their own company, but that's a different conversation.
3% of their contribution to the 401k do have some money in their 401k right now. If they take the money out, that it gets taxed, so that then you're sort of cutting it in half, and then there's a penalty as well. President Trump thinks that if we can get it out without these heavy tax penalties, then we can free up cash for people to buy homes. And I think that that's a key part. It's going to be a key part, however it turns out in the end in terms of the technical details.
The reason you have the penalties for it, more or less, is because the company doesn't actually hold that money for you in any kind of account. Again, they invested in the stock market, and with a plan to be able to give you X amount, assuming that it goes well, which is why if the stock market crashes, your 401k kind of gets fucked. But again, different conversation anyway. So they don't actually hold that money for you. So whenever you pull your money out sooner than they were expecting, it actually costs them a lot of money, because they're going to be out of pocket, because they're not planning for you to take that money. Now, it's your money, but they're using it to do whatever they want to because you gave them permission to. I don't actually agree with 401k systems for myself. That's why I don't actually have one. I prefer to provide for my own retirement. But regardless, that's the reason you get penalized for it, right? Because they're not actually planning to give you that money, so the fact that you want it back really puts a damper on their own profits.
Of his home building agenda this year.
Yeah. Times are kind of tough. There was a study this...
Also, if they put penalties for it, then it really de-incentivizes you to actually pull anything out, which is good for them too.
This week that showed 37% of people had taken out a loan or early withdrawal or hardship from retirement funds at some point. They called this pretty concerning, so that would be a good thing for people who are trying to make sure that they keep their retirement on track while they try to buy a house. But one other question about this proposal, or the slate of proposals, would that require new legislation to rewrite the tax code? And how likely is it that something like that passes with these margins in Congress?
Listen, I don't know if anybody's going to rewrite the tax code, even though it's long overdue.
Right. Well, the general idea.
Either that, or we should just educate the general public on the fact that there are 3 different types of income, not just earned like what most people do on a W-2. But
that President Trump put forward on helping people have access to the cash that's theirs without heavy tax penalties has been something that we've been socializing in the Senate and the House, and we've received really great enthusiasm for the idea. And so our expectation is that we will attempt to move forward with legislation this year on this matter, and that it might.
Good. I really hope that happens, and I'm going to have to look into it because I need to make sure that I'm up to date on the tax code.
Even, it could actually even be bipartisan because it's such a no-brainer for Americans to.
Well, listen, Guy, you're giving a lot of credit to the Democrats, okay? They don't have brains. The no-brainer thing is a problem for them.
Have access to their money so that they can finally.
They think there's more than 2 gingers.
Be homeowners.
If you can get Congress to do anything these days, that's a pretty big achievement.
No kidding.
We will look forward to your trip to Davos and all of the announcements coming with it. Kevin Hassett, Director of the National Economic Council, thank you so much for joining Sunday Briefing, sir.
Director of the National Economic Council. Well, you know what? Good job, buddy. We really like what you're doing there. Anyway, yeah, so I wanted to show you that real quick. I thought that was cool that Europe is kind of pissed that Trump's saying, hey, listen, if you don't want to sell me this, that's fine, but you're gonna sell me this, if you know what I mean. All right. So anyway, definitely subscribe. Definitely follow me on all the things if you're going to be going to X because you like based opinions and you like me calling out politicians and such. You can follow me at real_Sestill because for whatever reason Sestill was already taken, which is weird because I really thought that I was kind of individualized in this name, but I guess regular Sestill was already taken, which is, again, just the wildest thing to me. If you're watching me on Google or you're watching me on Rumble, then, you can make sure that you're subscribed to me. It's not really cool that you're watching me and you're not subscribed. If you are on Kick and you're just watching my stream, because I stream all of these videos once a week, twice a week, whatever, just depending on how much time I have. I'm really trying to do twice a week this year. You can make sure to follow me on Kick.